Crime Watch, and Tom's under the impression that have you ever seen these trench coat looking dudes? They're like this, and they got a hat on. All you can see is two beady eyes, and they say this neighborhood is protected.
Neighborhood Watch.
Neighborhood Watch. This
Signs
neighborhood is
X around there.
Tom believes that he is the person that they modeled that caricature after. Is there a reason for this, or just a gut feeling?
Oh, there was a girl I used to follow around back in the late 70s, and one time I stood on a street corner dressed just like that mysterious figure, and I was pretending I was smoking a cigarette and I was reading a newspaper, leaning against a street light.
Sort of Philip Marlowe.
And a lot of people saw me doing that. And
what street corner was that on?
And not too long this happened in Oxnard. And not too long after that is when those signs started to appear. We immediately report all suspicious activities to our local police department.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think there's money to be made being the person that?
No, it's just an inspiration. There's a general paranoia in society about suspicious activities in general, and.
Are you flattered that you are the icon of a society for suspicious activity?
It's not an enviable position. It may be my own paranoia that leads me to think that I was the one that was modeled after.
That's a good. Your reasoning's pretty solid there.
There's a few other things that Tom thinks he was responsible for.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, that was just the start.
So tell us about another one, Ben.
Well, the Gulf War.
Oh, that's right. You did think you were responsible for the Gulf War. Now, how did that come about? I know how the Gulf War allegedly came about, but how did it really come about, in your opinion, and how were you responsible?
I was passing out flyers on Mazda RX-7 rotary engine sports cars all over Ventura County with suppressed information on them.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Why Mazda RX-7s?
Because that's the audience I was targeting.
For what reason?
To try to get them to buy a gas line device and synthetic motor oils, and to also alert people about various suppressed inventions.
But why the Mazda RX-7?
Because it's the only alternative engine that was ever released for public consumption in this country. It has the Wankel rotary engine.
Okay, so you're passing out flyers on a little car, and then the Gulf War broke out.
Actually, it took a whole year for the war to actually break out. But during the time I was passing out the flyers is when the threats initially began, and the so-called line drawing in the sand.
Threats to who, or to what?
Where war was threatened if Hussein did not withdraw or cease his activities.
Now, how did you make the connection between you and your little flyers in Oxnard and a war that involved several NATO countries and
because this information isn't supposed to be known to people.
Okay,
information about anything that's bad for the oil companies is not to be known. It's not to be used.
I might agree with you there. I'm just saying, how did 8.5 by 11 flyers, you'd say?
Yes.
Handwritten. How many would you say you distributed?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. 500 approximately? Could that be a reasonable amount? Give or take 100?
Give or take.
Okay.
Probably more.
And you think one, if not more, of these flyers got into the hands of an individual who was able to do what with it in order to start a war?
Well, I suppose the information was passed on to local police agencies, and from there it was transferred to higher-ups beyond that.
So some lieutenant captain gets this flyer on his desk, says, "Captain, I think you should read this," and he reads it. He says, "Forward this to the FBI." Would that be a reasonable next place to go?
Maybe.
Okay, so it's just hypothetical. We eventually have to
get... It could be considered terrorism.
Well, I know. We eventually...
terrorism.
I'm just follow me here, because I'm trying to get to the Pentagon, and we're only at the local Ventura County Sheriff's Office right now. So he passes it, faxes it to the FBI. Someone in the local California branch of the FBI reads it, and he says, "This looks like something Washington might want to see." So they forward it over to the Washington Bureau of the FBI. Would that be a reasonable next step?
Possibly.
Okay, so we're about halfway through the month by now.
Yeah,
maybe.
He doesn't know all this stuff.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, I want to see if I'm accurate in how this one person could start a war.
Well, he feels that there was actually one man that was sent out to keep an eye on him.
Oh, so there was a spy.
One man did approach me in a parking lot when I was passing out the flyers one time.
And he said, hi?
He wanted to know more information, and the strange thing about it was he was wearing a windbreaker with an official insignia on it. It was a Central Intelligence Agency type of a insignia.
Like
It
CID?
had something with like an eagle or arrows or something like that.
Could he have been a member of the NRA? They have an eagle in their little...
Now this looked like one of those official type insignias.
And you think if he was a spy, he would...
And he drove a Mazda RX-7.
Oh, of course. He wanted to be on your good side.
And I gave him a picture of a Moeller personal flying machine from Davis, California.
So when did the president declare war as a result of these flyers? I mean, what were they trying to prevent happening?
They wanted to divert people's attention away from the information in the flyers.
Yeah, because I mean, that's all I heard about on the news was the war. I don't think the flyers was ever mentioned.
You mean they wanted to make it look like oil was something worth fighting for?
Yeah. They wanted to brainwash the public into supporting the oil industry, basically.
But you think those flyers would have thwarted that had they not countered
If they had
with
become
the war?
popular, it would have made a mass bad attitude towards the oil companies, which is what I was
But don't
trying.
you think that that's like, you know, it's like your 500 flyers would merit 500 anti-flyers as opposed to an entire war against another country?
The timing was ripe for it. I mean, the United States hadn't been at war in quite a while at that point, and
And your flyers were being spread around Ventura County, so why not?
the president at that time had very close ties to the oil industry. His early adult life was spent in the oil industry.
Yeah, he was in charge of the Central Intelligence
Yeah.
Agency as well. Yeah, no, I think you're onto something here. Huh. So with that in mind, do you feel responsible for the deaths of a lot of individuals in that war, or do you think it was out of your hands?
I have mixed feelings about that.
Is there guilt associated with this war in you?
At one point, he thought it was staged.
It didn't really happen, it was all...
Well, that was when Tom was, I think, really at his lowest point in life, to tell you the truth. Back in 91, the summer of 91, he was really having a hard time.
Coping?
Yeah, and maybe it was just the pressure that he felt that he was responsible for the war, and maybe he was hoping that it was just a hoax. Maybe that was the only way he could deal with it.
Yeah.
The California Sun paper covers a lot of these issues concerning suppressed technology. The last time I checked, you could find it at the Tower Records CD video store on Thousand Oaks Boulevard in Westlake. So,
Right now, Tom is really at the end of his wits because he just can't get people to listen to his ideas.
We're listening.
Well, it's rare that you could even get him to talk about this anymore.
Really?
He's so frustrated.
Well, I'd like you to come back anytime, and, you know, we could eventually put some of your viewpoints on local television and see what the community thinks in general, although I wouldn't want to start another war. Well, thanks for coming by today. Ben, thank you for being here. Thanks for bringing Tom, and please come back. We'll have you back in a few weeks if that's all right.